And it's good morning to you once again. It's Monday, the 1st of June, 2026. The program is On the Lord's Side, Christian Perspectives on News and Current Events. My name is Olufemi Oguntokun. You can follow me on X at Olufemi OG. You can follow Gospel Best Radio on X at Gospel Best Radio. This is perhaps a video you have seen, the audio of which I'm going to play out now. And it is said to be the voice and the picture of the principal of one of the schools raided by bandits and kidnappers in Ogbomosho, southwest Nigeria, about 3 weeks ago. We all are horrified by the realization that these children and these teachers remain in captivity 3 weeks after. One of them we know for certain has been killed because the killing was recorded on video and shared massively, and they are still there. And I do hope you're still praying for them. I do hope that you're not carrying on as if all is well, because as it is with Nigeria now, we cannot afford to so carry on. In all our churches, we should be praying for them. In our private prayers, we should be praying for them. In our family devotions, we should be praying for them.
All of us, if any of the armies come into the bush again, please, we are pleading with you. We are begging you in the name of God, please, please. We learned that yesterday some army was sent, and that has compounded our problems. It has added to our troubles. In fact, one of us has been picked that they are going to kill him because they use force. We are pleading with you not to force yourself into the bush, but please call them and dialogue with them so that the problem can be solved and we'll be able to go home alive. They have promised to kill all of us if any of the armies come into the bush again. Please, we are pleading with you. We are begging you in the name of God, please, please.
So exactly, this is the modus operandi of criminals, of bandits, of kidnappers, not wanting the government to come in by force of arms. And of course, I mean, that's why people are taken as ransom. That's the meaning of ransom. You take some people and say, look, I want to negotiate on this and that, and if you don't give in to my demands, and I'm going to kill these people. That's exactly how hostage-taking situations unfold. That's the reason why I take people as hostages, not as ransom, rather as hostages, to use them to negotiate. What do you think these bandits are negotiating for? Obviously for money, I suppose, and who knows for what after that. So we find that the ancient wisdom is true. Prevention is better than cure, right? That is what every sane, decent government understands. The ancient wisdom that prevention is better than cure. You want to have security in your neighborhoods, within your borders, so that these nefarious elements cannot act. They are not able to take hostages, because once it's an hostage situation, the options are limited. Quite limited for the government. You are thinking on one hand, it will be to the credit of anyone in government for these students and their teachers to be returned home safely. Although the greater damage has been done with the public beheading of that innocent maths teacher, but then it will be to the credit of anyone in government for the students and the teachers, the remaining students and teachers, to be returned home safely. And of course, the terrorists know this as well. They know that those in government would want to take credit for that, would want to be applauded for that. And so they say to them, you dare not come to us by force of arms, you dare not swoop on us, otherwise we're going to kill them. And if we were to kill the children and the teachers, it will rub off badly on those in government and on the nation as a whole. And that's so true. And that is why I mentioned earlier on that the most important thing is to have security within our borders in the first place. Deterrence. Because once there's an hostage situation, it becomes a delicate, frustrating situation where the options are limited. I'm talking about options being limited, talking about people becoming so desperate that there's another video making rounds. Obviously the governor of Oyo State, Ogbomosho, that town in southwest Nigeria is in Oyo State. The governor visited that area where the kidnappings took place, as he should. Just as an aside, the governor has said in recent times that he is practically helpless. And if you understand the constitutional nature of Nigeria, the constitutional framework of Nigeria, you find that in the ultimate sense, it is the president of the republic, although it's a federal republic, it is only federal in name. To a large extent, the president of the country is the one who controls the security architecture in every corner of Nigeria. The president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, is also the person who controls the police force of the entire nation. State governors do not control the police, do not control any police force. Of course, in recent years, because of the obvious failures and incapacity of the Nigerian police force, many governors have been forced to establish some form of vigilante groups. But of course, they're just that. They're not full-fledged security forces. So Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State has been saying in recent times that, look, everybody has to be looking to the president, because as we are today, state police, there are no state police forces in Nigeria. They are not legal. They are not constitutional. The president has said that he would support it, but I mean, those are just words. We have not seen any support yet. But notwithstanding, the governor of Oyo State has visited that area, and when he visited, he met with stakeholders, met with community members, and of course also met with people, parents whose children remain with the captors, remain with the bandits. And I'm sure you just do not even want to count. You just even do not want to think about what those parents are passing through. You don't even want to. You don't even want to imagine the pain in their heart, the horrors they are passing through, the anxieties in their heart. You don't even want to imagine it. So you must not be surprised to hear the anguish in the voice of this woman who took the microphone to address Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State.
Ẹ dákun ẹ ṣàánú wa, gbogbo àwa òbí pátápátá mo gba ẹnu wa sọ̀rọ̀ nítorí pé èmi nìkan tẹ́ rí ọmọ mi mẹ́rin àti ìyàwó ọmọ mi tó pọn ọmọ tó jẹ́ tíṣà fún sùkúù nọ́ọ̀sìrì ní bẹ níbẹ̀ báwọn. Ẹ dákun ẹ gbà wẹ́ ràn wá lọ́wọ́, Ọlọ́run ní tún yín sínú òun wáyé. Ọmọ mi mẹ́rin àti ìyàwó ọmọ mi lọ́pọ̀ ọmọ lẹ́yìn ní sọ̀rọ̀ tẹ̀ ń wò.
This woman said she prayed, pleaded with the governor, saying, "Ọlọ́run ní fi sínú ihò ayé." That's a very, profoundly deep prayer. If you understand Yoruba, saying that the Lord, we was saying to the governor, the woman saying to God, the Lord would not take away from him the things of honor that serve as covering, for him, because this woman, from what she has said here, has 4 grandchildren who are among those kidnapped by those bandits. Think about that, 4 grandchildren, and then our daughter-in-law as well. She said our son's wife, that our son's wife is the woman seen on many videos having an infant or caring for an infant. So this woman with 4 grandchildren in the den of the kidnappers, and our son's wife, our daughter-in-law, also there, cried out to the governor and said, "Please, that's Yoruba for please help us. Please have mercy upon us. Please have mercy upon us." And she said that she's speaking, for the hundreds of parents or the many other parents who are in the same shoes as herself. And you see, this is what desperation does. Helpless parents, helpless spouses, helpless children, because that principal who made the video we played earlier on, of course, must be the mother of some other people. So there are helpless children as well, now crying out to helpless politicians. Can you see the point? Because before Governor Seyi Makinde went to your state, he did speak about his own helplessness as well. He pointed to the incongruity in our constitutional framework, saying, look at Nigeria, as a state governor, I don't control any security force, properly so called, right? Because only the president in his seat in Abuja controls everything. He pointed to his own helplessness. Nevertheless, he went to that area, as he should, to merely commiserate, right? Because at this point, really, he has no solution to proffer to commiserate with them. And then the helpless parents, the helpless grandparents, the helpless spouses, the helpless children cried out to the helpless governor, and that's exactly where we are. And as we think about these horrible states of things in Nigeria, one of the things you should be asking is what's actually happening. Especially after listening to that woman, the principal of one of the schools invaded by the bandit, say on video. Of course, she was made to say these things, right? I mean, we have to have that at the back of our mind. When bandits release any video of things said by some of the hostages, things done by them or things done to the hostages, just to affect our psyches, it's psychological warfare. That's what they want to pass out. That's what they want us to think that she's saying, because of course she must have said those things with a gun pointed at her. So she must have been saying with a gun pointed at her. She must say exactly what she wanted to say, what they wanted her to say. I was thinking just briefly, as I thought about this, and last I said, look, if one was in the den of these captives, maybe we never get there. You want to think to yourself, well, what would you do? Would you take that opportunity to say, something real? Maybe just damn the bandits themselves. But then that would be very stupid and futile and foolish and unhelpful, because whatever you say on video, maybe to damn the bandits, will not find its way to the public. They just will not send it out. They just will not publish it, right? So there's no point just to keep yourself alive while in their captivity. You say the things that they wanted to say. So this woman said what they wanted said, which is basically, hey, government of Nigeria, come and negotiate with us, and then they come and negotiate with us. Don't try to attempt to free these people by force. Negotiate with us. We're going to release them, and then all is well. And when they say negotiate with us, what do you think they're asking for? They're asking for money, which leads me to this next clip. I want you to listen to it. The caption that accompanies this video, this is a video of a segment on Arise News. It says, total ransom paid in 3 years of Tinubu government is 2 trillion naira. Think about that. 2 trillion naira between, he says, point of question, between 2023 and 2024. That's even 1 year, basically. Total ransom paid to terrorists, 2 trillion naira. The military security budget for about 3 years has been in the range of 1.6 trillion. So we really need to be clear-eyed about what is happening in our country. Military security budget for the same period, about 1.6 trillion. Total ransom paid to bandits and kidnappers, 2 trillion naira. So you begin to understand, you begin to have a clearer idea of what is actually happening.
I read a report from the stories we have read, and I read a report from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics that between and 2024, the amount of ransom paid is about 2.2 trillion naira, which was even higher than the budget for security, which was about 1.6 trillion or so. All these things should ginger us. Look at what just happened recently in Oyo State. And I want to prescribe that the government should sit down and stories we have read. And I read a report from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics that and 2024, the amount of ransom paid is about 2.2 trillion naira, which was even higher than the budget for security, which was about...
Exactly. So, Americans would say, follow the money. Whenever you find yourself confounded by any situation, by any act of criminality, or any deviation from the norm, and you are trying to figure out what is at the root of the problem, what is at the root of anything you are dealing with, follow the money. Ask yourself who is making money out of this, and you're going to get your answer. You're going to get the solution to the problems confronting you. You follow the money, and then you are going to know exactly what happened. Many detectives in the United States, they've come to actually venerate that principle, because once you're trying to figure out who killed this person, who did this or who did that, you want to ask yourself who made money out of this, who is making money out of this. And that's the simple question that Nigeria has to solve. Who is making money out of this act of terrorism and criminality? And because we're not talking about just small sums of money, we're not talking about just say $100, $50, $500, $1,000. We're talking about sums in the range of 2 trillion naira, $100,000, millions. Really, nobody should attempt to say to us that it is not possible to trace the ultimate beneficiaries of these sums. These are not small sums. These are sums that cannot be moved physically. Yes, we are told that they try as much as possible to move these sums physically, but not everything can be so moved. There are many people whose relatives have been released from captivity who have spoken on record that they made transfers to these bandits. If transfers are being made, well, there are bank accounts receiving these transfers. There are banks facilitating these transfers. Nobody opens a bank account without a KYC, without the person's KYC information stored with the banks. That should be a starting point. And then the Nigerian Union of Teachers in Oyo State, we understand, has now declared an indefinite strike. This report says the Nigerian Union of Teachers has directed all public primary and secondary school teachers in Oyo State to embark on an indefinite strike beginning from today, the 1st of June 2026, over the continued captivity of abducted teachers and pupils in Orire local government area of the state. The directive comes amidst growing concerns over the safety of teachers and students after 46 pupils and their teachers were abducted by suspected terrorists in some communities in Oyo State. And this is long expected. I like that this was thought through. It was not something rushed by the NUT. The NUT must indeed feel compelled, must have felt compelled to do this. When the NUT first proclaimed days of prayers and fasting, many people applauded them. We did applaud them. Many people also laughed at them, scorned them, and said, look, that's not what should be done now. I think that was the first thing that needed to be done. And going forward, they needed to do more. And this would be a step in the right direction, because you're saying to yourself, hey, if 2 or 3 schools among all the thousands of schools in Oyo State were attacked by these bandits, and those taken hostage remain in captivity 3 weeks after the fact, what is the assurance that this same bandit will not attack another school in that state? And that's so true. And that's so true. At the same time, so sad, because now you're going to have many students out of school, and I just hope that this will put some pressure on the government to double its efforts. It is disheartening to think that these terrorists are just trying to fleece money out of the government. Now, think about it this way. If indeed the government has been paying ransom, and credible evidence points to that, that not only individuals whose relatives are captured are paying ransom, that also the government of Nigeria has been paying ransom to these bandits and these terrorists. If that is the case, now do you think that the government just delights in that a right-thinking government would do what? Would take steps to arrest these bandits so that they don't continue to fleece the government and citizens of money? It is the only scenario where the government will be comfortable paying ransom to these people. Will be what? Will be a scenario where, well, the people in government are also benefiting from it, which is what many people suspect, which I hope is not the case. And even as I say, I hope it's not the case, I'm pitching myself and say, Femi, don't be naive and be realistic about the corruption in this country. the utter corruption and decadence as well. So all this we bring up again just to remind us that our work is cut out for us. I remember what we said about those helpless grandparents, parents, spouses, children crying out to a governor who has described himself as helpless. That's exactly where we are. Helpless citizens crying out to a helpless government. And in the case of the government that has the power and the resources, to go after these bandits, what we have is that we have complicity even among them. So ultimately, helpless citizens crying out to helpless governors, and helpless governors looking up to a compromised federal government, I must say. And that is why when you look at everything, when you critically examine the situation, you must go back to admitting that what we have to do, not just primarily, what we have to do essentially is to cry out to God and pray to Him for deliverance for this country. Even the best of us who attempt to rigorously analyze policies, to rigorously analyze situations, we have come, and Nigeria has beaten us to that place where we have come to admit that the solution to our problem is primarily prayer. We need a divine intervention in this country, and all of us who are Christians should be aware of this, and we should play our role in begging God to bring about that divine intervention. There are news reports saying that President Tinubu has approved the recruitment of 1,000 forest guards in Oyo State. Well, as part of deterrence, that will help us in deterring these bandits from using this forest. But again, as they say, the devil is in the details. Who are the people who are going to be employed? Who are these 1,000 persons to be employed? Let us hope we are not going to employ some of the bandits to stand as guards in all these forests, which will then, of course, clearly defeat the purpose itself. I continue to pray for those children and those men and women who remain in captivity. Not only those from Ogbomosho, but all of them, every nook and cranny of Nigeria. The Lord Himself will bring them out. And I do hope that you are also praying, and you are not letting any opportunity pass by without you praying to God and saying, Lord, remember these ones who have been taken captive by this evil one. I pray the Lord Himself will bring them out and do His wonderful work in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, and finally this morning, news from Canada. Another news that illustrates where the culture is. CBN News reporting on its Instagram platform, Canadian citizens are expressing outrage after a woman who was seeking medical attention for back pain was offered euthanasia before she was ever diagnosed or tested. The hospital staff immediately offered to help kill her. Think about that. I'll read that again. Canadian citizens are expressing outrage after a woman who was seeking medical attention for back pain was offered euthanasia before she was ever diagnosed or tested. The hospital staff immediately offered to help kill her. Now, a member of parliament is citing the story of Miriam Lancaster as proof that Canada needs to stop expanding its new euthanasia program. Tamara Jensen, member of parliament, once, quote, in 2027, Canada is set to expand MAID. MAID is medical assistance in dying. MAID, medical assistance in dying. This member of parliament said, quote, in 2027, Canada is set to expand medical assistance in dying to what many are now calling psychiatric euthanasia. That is for people with mental illness alone. That includes conditions like anxiety, depression, PTSD. Canadians are asking a simple question. Are we offering death before we can offer care? Are we offering death before we offer care? And somebody wrote here saying, oh, what is going on in Canada right now? Another person wrote, socialist medicine was never intended for the benefit of patients. And you have to ask that question again, what is exactly happening? When you have societies trying to expand the scope of what? Of euthanasia. In the first place, you want to wonder a society that has allowed euthanasia to have any form of legal recognition whatsoever. But then you have medical assistance in dying. I want to talk about medical assistance in dying. I want you to understand it for what it is. In the first place, medicine was not meant to assist dying. It was to prevent death, right? Many people now cite the creed that medical doctors subscribe to at the time of their swearing into that profession. It is to do everything to promote life. But now we find it inverted, where it says you can die, you can assist people to die. And now the expansion, not only to chronic illness, it used to be said that, look, this thing will just be limited to chronic illnesses, where people are dealing with chronic pain that cannot be addressed by medication or by surgery. You see, we have to take pity on them and let them go. And as we always say, we don't start on a slippery slope. Once something is wrong, but you try to justify it and say, oh, but for this purpose, but we're going to limit it to this. Once you take one step down a slippery slope, you have to take another one to stabilize yourself. And those who invite you to come down the slippery slope, they know exactly what they want. They want you down in the pit, but they cannot tell you. If they say they want you down in the pit, you're not going to agree. They're just going to say, oh, you need to take one step because of this and because of that. And if you allow them to convince you, you're going to soon find that you need to take many more steps, and God forbid that you find yourself in the pit. That is exactly where societies will find themselves if they allow themselves to be hoodwinked into supporting foolish and spiritually dangerous measures like this. It was once said, look, this medical assistance in dying will be for people suffering chronic illnesses, people dealing with chronic pain that cannot be addressed by medication or surgery. And now we understand in 2027 Canada is trying to expand this to include psychiatric euthanasia, meaning maybe there is no pain, no physical pain, but this person has a mental illness, and that mental illness will include what? Anxiety. There's an antidote for anxiety in the Bible. Depression, there's a antidote for depression in the Bible. PTSD, these are just clinical psychological issues that have been known to be addressed by therapy and some course of treatment. They're saying that when somebody comes to you and says, look, just let the person go, just offer assistance to the person in dying. So much so that a woman with back pain went to a hospital, and the doctor immediately recommended what? Euthanasia. What? With back pain, and they offered to kill her instead of caring for her. I've always said this about all these issues about medical assistance in dying. Once you see a culture that is just so hung on death, whether it's abortion, death, or medical assistance in dying, you have to be reminded of who is truly that culture, and that is the devil, whose mission is to steal, to kill, and to destroy. Wherever you find a culture that honors God through Christ, that culture does what? That culture values life. That culture works to preserve life, because life is precious to God. The Noahic covenant, God said, I will demand an accounting for every blood shed. Life is precious to God. Life is so precious to God. He created it. Anything he has created is precious to him. So I will demand an accounting for every blood shed. But the other is true for Satan. He has come to steal, to kill, and to destroy all that God has made. So you can have a rule of thumb. Once you have to choose between two, if one is trying to preserve life, that is godly. The other one saying, look, this life must end because of this, because of that, that is not of God. It is of the devil, whose mission is to steal, to kill, and to destroy. If you are not in Canada, if you are not in North America, if you are not in Europe, if you're in Africa, well, we should be aware of these things, so that when the arguments find their way here, we are prepared to counter them. And for those who are in Europe, in North America, there are many fantastic Christians there. When these arguments come up in the culture, we have to understand those arguments for what they are. You may engage with them on grounds of medicine by saying, oh, but there are effective medication for these conditions. Therefore, let us not go all the way to MAI, the medical assistance in dying. You may counter those arguments on economic grounds and say that the amount we are spending taking care of the chronically ill, that amount is not is not huge enough for us to say we don't want to spend it again. But ultimately, the answer lies in a theological worldview. You have to understand that this is the very opposite of what God wants for the society. You have to identify that this is something that the devil himself is promoting in the society, because his mission is to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And that is why ultimately a society prospers when those who are governing that society, those who are the doctors, the lawyers, the accountants, the nurses, the caterers, all of them, everyone in society knows the Lord. If the whole world knew Jesus, imagine what would be the case. That's why ultimately we as Christians, who are on the Lord's side, we must take seriously our charge to go into the other world and make disciples of all men. That will glorify the Lord. That will bring joy to the heart of God. But even more than that, that is the way that we're going to have peace in this world. As long as we have among us people who are sold out to the devil, as long as we have among us people who are the instrument of the devil, whose mission is to steal, to kill, and to destroy, we are going to be confronted with foolish, dangerous, spiritually destructive ideas like medical assistance in dying. The medical profession should be giving assistance to people, trying to make them live, to overcome their situation, to overcome their illnesses, to bring health, not to bring death. And those who started by saying, it will be limited to this, limited to that, let us remind them that now we have doctors who are prescribing euthanasia even before diagnosing any physical condition, because what the devil has sent them to do in the world is to do what? Is to steal, to kill, and to destroy. I want to thank you very much for staying with us this morning on Gospel Best Radio for On the Lord's Side, Christian Perspectives on News and Current Events. I hope to be with you again tomorrow by the grace of God. Whatever you do today, please remain firm on the Lord's side.
You are listening to GospelBellsRadio.com,
God bless you,
the
Rick.
Christian internet radio with a mission to engage the culture with the mind of Christ. Keep listening and invite others too. God bless you.
Engaging the culture with the mind of Christ.
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 Engaging the culture with the mind of Christ.